All right, good morning, guys. Figured I'd do a little walk around of my 2014 DYNA SC 12 XP Firewood processor. Works pretty good for what I want it to do. There are some things I'd change and some things I do like, and I don't know, I just figured I'd talk about it, walk around some. Well, we can start with the controls here. So right here, this is going to be your log clamp. Has to be running, of course, but that holds your log down. Right here is your saw. It is a manual pull down saw. Does work pretty good though. This is your log feed, which is going to be this chain here on this trough. This is your log load, which is going to be these legs right here, and these tongs pick up the log and carry it up onto it. It's going to be your splitter. Obviously down in here is your splitting chamber. Forward, and it's got a detent for running backwards. So this is the hydraulic motor, which is, well, goes on top of the conveyor. But as you can see, I do not have a conveyor belt in here right now. That could be topic for another video. But yeah, right here, you can let down your conveyor using this winch cable. Here's a chain. Well, I guess I'd call it a safety chain. I try to let the weight of the conveyor rest on the chain as opposed to the cable. That hydraulic motor goes on top of the conveyor, which, like I said, is apart right now. This is an 8-foot conveyor. I do believe they come optional now with a 10-foot conveyor, but this is what I got. So it takes up to a 16-inch diameter log, which you can see I've put a couple through that were maybe a hair too big. This is your measuring, I guess you'd call it a chain. But so right here, they are in increments of 2 inches. For whatever reason from the factory, 16 inches doesn't quite fall on one of these points. So that's my 16-inch mark, because that's our typical sized firewood here, unless you're doing some outdoor boiler stuff. So back to the legs, or the live deck, I guess. We got, let's fold it up for transportation right now. We got to get these pins out of here. All right, we'll fold this down. We'll pull this out. Oh. So this is about typically how I have it setting when I'm processing wood. Obviously this set's a little more square. There's a pin that goes back in this hole here. But the log load right here runs these tongs in and out. So what I do is I open this all the way up, and I do have a mini excavator. I pick everything up and I set it on here, and then away I go with the processing. If you would like, if you don't have access to a machine with forks or something like that, these legs also rest all the way down on the ground. So as you run that tong down, it lays down almost flat. So what I do there is I use a cant hook and I roll it up on, and I can pick up one log at a time, bring it up on here. Which, if that's what you got, hey, it works. But in my opinion, it's much faster to use the machine to load the whole deck. But all right, we'll walk around here. So this is your control for your saw bar oil. In the summertime, I typically run about a turn to a turn and a half open. In the wintertime, which is what it is right now, I usually run wide open with this valve here to oil my chain. And you can adjust it up or down as you please, I guess. But that seems to work pretty good for me. It's got a 2-inch ball to move it around. I believe this machine's only like, I don't know, 2,600 pounds or something around there. Don't quote me, but something very similar to that. All right, so engine. We have old Honda here. It is a GX 630. Works pretty good. Knock on wood, haven't had any issues with it. Just typical maintenance on her. But let's see, hours, I think we're almost to 1,000. 936.5. I've had this machine 3 years, almost to the day, and Bought it with 150 hours, and it's been nothing but good to me. So some of the things I've changed, I guess, so far, or things that have, I guess you could say, gone bad or wore out or whatever, is this gas tank originally was a white or a clear colored gas tank, and it got a sun rot to it, I guess you'd call it. Got all dry rotted and had some holes in it. So I put a tank on it. That was on back order for a couple months from DYNA in the midst of COVID or whatever else is going on in the world. This right here had dry rot in it as well. I put a bar oil tank on it. This holds about a gallon too, by the way. Works pretty good. Obviously, bars, chains, consumables. I want to say this is an 18-inch bar, if I remember. Maybe it's a little bigger. Not sure off the top of my head right now, sorry. Chains, they last pretty good. If you, obviously, if you get into some mud and rocks and dirt and stuff like that on your logs, it doesn't last as long. But on a nice fresh chain, you could probably cut 5 or 6 cord, I would say. Full cord, not face cord. So, you know, 128 cubic feet at a rip with it, without sharpening it. Like I said, obviously that all changes with the amount of dirt or mud you got. But I put a 2 batteries in it, I think. Just, you know, typical Napa battery. Worked pretty good. Second one that went bad on me was still under warranty. Got a little switch in here for my lights. I got one on this side, one on that side, which obviously are not factory. You know, I put those on myself for working in these short days like this, you know. And in the summertime, I like to try to beat the heat, so I typically start before it gets light out, at least with loading and everything. But it works pretty dang good. Clip this back up. Oh yeah, it's another thing that broke. This bungee cord did not come factory, even though it's blue here. But yeah, there was a form of strapping, I guess, like this, but it also dry rotted. You know, nothing that's DYNA's fault. Just you know, nature of the beast, I guess. Replaced a couple hydraulic lines. Using the splitter, I don't really like using it as a regular wood splitter sometimes if you got bigger rounds, which obviously these lines and stuff are not here all the time. This is right out of the way. But it's kind of hard to tell. But this table is kind of high up off the ground to get over it. So if you've got big rounds that don't fit through the 16-inch hole, you got to pick them up and throw them in here. One time, I may or may not have accidentally dropped the log on here and stripped the threads out of here. But I said to get a hose there. And obviously you get miscellaneous chafing and stuff of hoses somewheres, you know. So I put my own little hose wrap type of deal on here. Let's see what else we got here. Oh, I guess I could talk about this. This is an adjusting valve, which that may or may not have been a casualty before. So I usually use a little pair of vice grips to turn it, because this will adjust the speed of the conveyor, faster or slower. You can actually turn it right to a dead stop if you'd like, for whatever reason. They said this is an 8-foot conveyor. They do make a 10-foot optional. The belt is right off of this thing currently. It's a work in progress. But yeah, otherwise it's been pretty good. I'd fire it up, but like I said, the hydraulic motor off the conveyor is off and everything. 4-way wedge works pretty good. More ideal for like 10 to 12-inch rounds to get 4 even pieces. What you do is take this bolt out here, and you can slide this plate out, slide this splitting wedge forward, up and out. That works pretty good if you just want a bi-directional wedge instead of a 4-way. But I like the 4-way. Makes short work out of a lot of things. I believe it's a 10 or 11 second cycle time, something along that lines for the splitting ram. But otherwise, it's been pretty good. I guess I can't complain. You know, I've put quite a few hours on it in 3 years. Done a lot of firewood with it. So, yeah, I guess that's that.